Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a little bit different from what I normally do, and that is because I got the exciting news that I am going to law school. Oh my god, it just feels so like long awaited, and anyways, we're gonna get into this right now. So today I'm going to be telling you how I got into a T14 law school. So I'm going to be talking stats, I'm going to be talking resume, I'm going to be talking personal statement, all of the things that make it possible for you to get accepted into law school. I feel like it has been a little taboo for people to talk about their stats when it comes to like the LSAT and all of that, and I'm not really sure why. So I am what is known as the reverse splitter. And so a splitter is when you have a really high LSAT score and a pretty low undergraduate GPA. But I was the reverse of that. I had a pretty high undergraduate GPA, but a low, somewhat average LSAT score. So my undergraduate GPA, I finished magna cum laude with a 3.74 GPA at Hampton University. Shout out to HU. My LSAT score, on the other hand, was a 153. Okay, now I know after hearing that number, you might be thinking, well, how could I be a credible source to provide advice if, I'm not in the upper percentiles, But
I got into a T14 law school, honey, so you better listen to my advice.
I did take the LSAT twice, okay? I guess I can go through like my journey taking the LSAT. On my first LSAT that I took in August, I ended up getting a 147. Was not happy with that at all. I knew I could do better. And so I got my scores back like late September. And so then I took the November 2020 LSAT and got a 153. Now, overall, I wasn't very happy with it. I was crying for a couple days just because I felt like I wouldn't get in anywhere. But I just knew in my brain I did not want to take the LSAT again. I was just like, okay, Kalyn, you're going to apply to these schools. And worst case scenario, if you don't get into the schools that you want to get into, you just reapply for the next cycle. So yeah, I decided to apply with my 153. So now we're going to talk about resumes, okay? So I would say what helped me a lot was my resume. So I have a lot of work experience. I was working between 20-25 hours while I was in school, my last 2 years in school. So I think that helps. So having that and being able to balance and graduate with a 3.74, I think really spoke volumes when it came to my resume. I was also in a lot of clubs. So I was in theater club, which we called the Hampton Players, but I was in a theater club for a couple years. And I was also in the West Pre-Alumni Council, which I also served as vice president. So again, added to my resume. I was in organizations. So I was in the Greer Dawson Student Leadership Training Program, and that was a very extraneous program. Okay, we were doing things left and right, always hosting events. So it really did take a huge chunk of my time. And so again, being able to balance that on top of working up to 25 hours a week and managing magna cum laude by graduation, I think spoke volumes. Aside from SLP, or the Student Leadership Program, I was also, my senior year, I crossed Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And so, having a sorority and such a distinguished organization such as that one on my resume as well spoke volumes. Aside from organizations, I also had a lot of volunteer work and internships on my resume. So I did intern for a woman who was running for delegate in Virginia back in 2017. There were a lot of different volunteer work that I've done through organizations and clubs on campus. So I just think in total, like all of that in my undergraduate years just really made the admissions council look deeply into my potential and what I could bring to their school. Another thing, I did not apply to law schools straight after graduating. So I did take a 2-year break. So I've been out of school for about 2 years now. In those 2 years that I wasn't in school, I was actually substitute teaching. So that was yet another thing that added to my resume and probably stood out to the admissions council. So now we're going to talk about the personal statement. Now this is the most dreaded paper. Like, I remember having to write a personal statement for undergrad and I just was so lost. For law school, you do have to write a personal statement in order to apply and send in these applications. And so for my personal statement, I decided to go the like anecdote route. And so I'm hoping to pursue entertainment law. And so I have a passion for entertainment. I've been performing for nearly my whole life. So I just really wanted the admissions councils at the numerous schools that I applied to see that. So I decided to get personal, tell a personal story, and I definitely think that that helped in my acceptance. And I feel like something else that people forget to do when it comes to the personal statement is that they forget to cater to each law school. So I feel like everyone just writes a personal statement and then just uses that one personal statement and sends them to all these different law schools. But I think that catering to each law school, so actually saying in your personal statement why UCLA, why, you know, NYU, why Georgetown, like telling them why you want to go to that specific institution so that they know that
you're serious about this school.
Like, oh, she really wants to be here because this is not generic, this is very specific. So definitely when you're writing your personal statement, I know it's going to take a lot more time, but all you gotta do is really tweak. I mean, I didn't rewrite every single paper. I just tweaked to make sure that I catered to each law school that I applied to. All right, so now we're gonna talk letters of recommendation. For my letters of rec, I did get 2 letters. I was trying to get 3, but one of them fell through. So I ended up having 2 letters. So I had an academic reference and then I had more of like a extracurricular activity reference. So my academic reference was actually someone that I ended up taking a lot of classes with at Hampton University. And so I ended up using her just because I felt like I had been taking classes with her since my sophomore year up until my senior year. And I had multiple classes with her a year. So all my classes were basically with her. And so she knew me, she knew my work. And then I also did work for her because she's an author, and so she needed someone to do like literature reviews, and so I helped her in finding articles and reviewing them for her. So we definitely like had that relationship to where I felt like she would write a good letter for me. And so that was my first reference. And then I had an extracurricular activity reference. So the administrator over the student leadership program that I was in at Hampton University ended up being my second reference, and I really felt like he would be a good person to write a letter for me, just because that program does take a lot of time, and I did a lot in that program. For example, I wrote a whole play my senior year, and so I just felt like him writing a letter would also benefit me the most. So those are the 2 letters that I ended up having for my applications. All right, so now we're going to talk about how I studied for the LSAT, what programs I used, if I used any books or anything like that. So when I first started studying, I really didn't know what programs to use quite yet. I did hear about Khan Academy, so I did use Khan Academy at first, and they have a pretty good program, a lot of videos to watch, a lot of practice problems and questions. So I used Khan Academy for the first little chunk. So when it came to books, I ended up purchasing the Princeton Review LSAT book. I had the Kaplan one, and then I also used the Power Score Bible, so the logic games and all of that. Like, I had all 3 of them. And so those were the different books that I had. And with those books and with Khan Academy, that is what I used before my first LSAT that I took, where I got the 147. So after I got the 147, I decided to hire help. That is where Test Max Preps comes in. And let me just tell you, I don't really have the best experience with them, and me personally would not recommend it. I would probably recommend Kaplan Wouldn't really recommend it. If you want me to do a story time on Test Max, I will, but long story short, try another one, just not Text Max, okay? So even though I don't recommend LSAT Max or Test Max, my tutor, Caroline, she was actually a really good tutor. So salute to Caroline. She really helped me, but the whole overall company in general just was not good. So now we're going to talk about the optional essays. And I feel like a lot of people neglect the optional essays portion. I do not recommend. I definitely took advantage of those optional essays. So I did, aside from the personal statement, I did write a diversity statement, and I also wrote an addendum. So for the diversity statement, aside from, you know, adding to the statistic of 5% of lawyers being Black, I also talked about what else I could bring to law school and to my career as a lawyer, talked about my background in performing, and essentially when you're in the courtroom, you're acting in a way, right? You're trying to prove case and win a case. So talked about that, and that also developed my stage presence and my communication skills and all of that. And so I just kind of put all of that into a diversity statement. And then I also wrote an addendum that basically showed the disparity between my undergraduate GPA and my LSAT scores. Definitely, if you are a splitter, write an addendum, and then if you can write a diversity statement, definitely do that. So now, because we're approaching the end, I'm going to talk about the schools that I applied to and around the time frame that I had finished all my applications. So I finished applying to all my schools by like January 5th. I tried to get them in by the new year, but you know, things happen, it's the holidays, but I ended up submitting all my applications by January 5th. And so I applied to 9 schools, okay? Now, of those 9, I was only rejected from 1 school with my 153 LSAT score. So I was actually waitlisted at 5 schools and I was accepted to 3, okay? So we're going to go through the schools that I was rejected from, waitlisted, and accepted to. I was rejected from UCLA. I was waitlisted at USC. I was also waitlisted at Pepperdine. I was waitlisted at Emory. I was waitlisted at Loyola. And I was waitlisted at the University of Miami. Okay, so now we're going to talk about my acceptances. So I feel like everyone gets accepted here. I was accepted at Southwestern. I was also accepted at Chapman University, and then I was also accepted to Berkeley, UC Berkeley. And for the grand finale, I'm going to be talking about my choice, and it's probably pretty apparent, but I will be attending UC Berkeley this fall, and I am literally so excited, so grateful, and I just knew that God was making a way, and you know, he just did what needed to be done. You know, this whole time, like in 2020, I was just, even earlier in 2021, I was really stressing. Like, I was really nervous that with my score I would not have gotten accepted anywhere. But guys, I do not want, like, yes, you want to shoot for a higher score, but I do not want like a low score to discourage you, just because it is possible. A lot of schools, they take more of a holistic approach when it comes to accepting people. So I definitely think my resume helped. I also think that being passionate about further diversifying the legal fields, like in my papers, I think that also helped. I also think graduating from an HBCU helped, to be honest, because a lot of, especially in 2020, you know, a lot of the racial issues happening in America, and I definitely think that a lot of schools and organizations have been trying to further diversify their institutions because of that, to show their support to the Black community. So I also think that was another thing that helped. And so I'm not saying to go to an HBCU so you can get into law school. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there were a lot of things that I think played into helping me with the fact that I was a reverse splitter. And so just don't be discouraged. I feel like you should definitely build up your resume. That's my #1 piece of advice. If you are still in college, take this time to just do. And I am actually going to be moving in the next couple of months, so I will be making law school vlogs and the moving process, and I'm gonna take you guys along with my law school journey. And I just want to be super transparent about law school, the struggles, the highs, the lows, all of that. Like, I don't want to hold anything back, and I definitely think that this will help people who are thinking about law school, who would like to see what it's like. And so you guys will be following me on my journey, so stay tuned. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that you guys were able to find the information that I was able to provide helpful for you guys. So if you have any further questions, you can leave them in the comment section below. You could also DM me on Instagram, DM me on Twitter. All of my social media handles are always in the description box. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!